creative continuity. We bring the convention to you.
All right, creative continuity at the Great Philadelphia Comic Con with Trina Nishimura.
Well, I started acting when I was 9 years old with my community theater. I started auditioning. Then when I was 13 years old, I started touring with a company, and I've just been acting ever since in various different capacities. And I was in college. I was going to be a lawyer and be a grown-up. That didn't really work out. Instead, a friend of mine was like, hey, well, because I was in college, so I was broke. Because that's your job in college, to be broke. I was really good at being broke. And my friend was like, hey, you should audition for this company called Funimation. He was a sound engineer at the time. And I auditioned, and he cast me. And over 100 roles later, in 10 years, I'm here.
Wow. So what was your very first role?
My very first role was Namiko. She was this little hungry girl in a show called Desert Punk in 2005. And my most memorable role, I guess to date, and maybe it's because I've been touring a lot for it, but Mikasa from Attack on Titan has been huge. So we've had a really great response to the show and to Mikasa, so I think that's the most memorable right now.
You were saying that you were half Japanese, correct?
Yes, I am half Japanese, an eighth Russian, an eighth German, an eighth Irish, and an eighth Scottish.
Okay, all right. So
fractions.
Have you ever done any Japanese voice acting?
I haven't. Unfortunately, I was raised more Texan than Japanese, so I'm third generation American, which means that my great-grandparents on my father's side came over from Japan. My grandparents were born in America. My father was born in America, and I was born in America. Thus, third generation American.
Oh, okay, right.
But my great-grandparents and my grandparents, their families were interned during World War II. The internment camps were on the West Coast, and my grandparents actually got married in the camp.
Wow.
And then after people were released from the camps, you still weren't really allowed to teach your children anything about the Japanese culture under threat of treason, among other things.
Wow.
America. But it was a different time and a different world, and consequently, my father was never really taught Japanese, the Japanese language, and neither was I. However, I can make some really amazing Japanese curry, so I got that.
Jonga gracefully strikes her opponents as a magical mage.
So what's the dub process like?
The dub process is really actually very interesting. So the property comes over from Japan, and then the scripts are translated, and off of those translations, adaptive scripts are written. So an adaptive script is a script that is written by native English speakers usually to make the text and the idea and the themes and everything else of the property or of the show come across more clearly to a Western audience.
Okay.
Because there are certain barriers and certain things sometimes that come up, like humor-wise or social norms and things like that, or social stigmas that aren't necessarily transferable from Japanese culture to Western culture. For example, there was a show where a girl was very tan, and she was a social outcast because of her tanness, right? So in Japan, if you're tan, you're perceived as promiscuous. Whereas in America, if you're tan, like you're just every other kid that plays outside or every other girl in high school that makes bad decisions don't tan. It's bad for your skin. But so there were things that they had to write in adaptively in order to make the theme of the show and the idea of the characters come across more clearly.
Sugita, look at this place. Master Ling will be furious.
So after the scripts are translated and adapted, then when I'm in the sound booth, I have two screens in front of me. One of the screens is of the original animation, so it has all the mouth movements, and the other screen is the script itself. So we watch the scene in Japanese first while we read the script, and then you go back in and you record it and make the text match into the mouth flaps that are already moving.
That sounds like it can be difficult.
It's a skill. It's a skill set that you learn over time, and I feel pretty good about my talent with it at this juncture, 10 years down the road. But it was certainly very challenging initially.
Roger. Pod O2 prime shifting into final mission orbit. Prepare for deceleration maneuver.
RCS in sync.
That's the automated defense system's kinetic weapon. Get ready.
If you're You're gonna cover me, then don't be late! Since you asked me so nicely.
How far is it a difference from the original to Americanize the character?
It depends on the show. It depends on the director. It depends on the actor. For example, Mikasa from Attack on Titan was a very deadpan character in the Japanese. She was very dry and had very little inflection or intonation in her voice in general. Because in Japanese culture, a woman that is a female character that's that stoic and that dry means something very different than a woman that's that stoic and dry in American culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or westernized culture. For example, if you remember the cartoon Daria was, it was a long time ago, but Daria was basically a social outcast and considered unfeeling and cold and emotionless because she was completely deadpan and totally without inflection. So had Mikasa been played that way, then her real character wouldn't, the root of her character wouldn't have come through, because Mikasa isn't at all that way. She's very feeling and she's very devoted and she's very kind. And so she's driven by her emotions, and had she just been flat, that might not have come across to people that are unfamiliar with character archetypes in Japanese culture. Mm-hmm. So luckily, I was given freedom and direction from Mike McFarland, the director, and we came up with this really awesome take on Mikasa that isn't exactly like it doesn't match the Japanese performance like word for word and intonation to intonation, but I think that we really captured the heart of the character and thus the theme of the show, or one of the thematical elements of the show.
Excuse me. I wouldn't. Not while I'm standing here. Unless anyone's feeling up to the task, in which case, well, I'm happy to demonstrate my own technique. On you.
What's next coming down the pike? Anything?
I have actually quite a few projects that are coming down the pipe that are really exciting, but I can't talk about yet contractually. But the minute I can, then I will definitely let you know. And I am on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, so most of my announcements come out that way. So just follow me and you'll see.
So besides voice acting, is there anything else that you were involved in?
I'm getting more involved in on-camera stuff. I've been promoting Attack on Titan and going to a bunch of shows lately. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so it's just acting world now. That's the only thing I do, and it's been amazing.
All right, this is Harold Gant signing off with Trina Nishimura.
You nailed it!
Thank you.